Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you so much for joining me today. My name is Heidi McIndoe. I'm a registered dietitian, and I am all about helping people eat nutritious food, obviously, but it has to be delicious too, or what's the fun in that? So today is all about breakfast. A lot of us, maybe we don't have time for breakfast. We're, trying to run out the door and get somewhere, but it really is I'm not going to say the most important meal of the day. That's cliche, but it's super important. It's the first time that you eat after a night of fasting, hence the name, break fast. And it's the first opportunity you get to start filling your body with nutrients. So while breakfast doesn't have to be something elaborate, getting something into your body's tank when you start the day is still important. So today I'm going to make some breakfast cookies, which you can make ahead, on the weekend, whatever, store them in the freezer or just on the counter. And I'm going to make a parfait and a smoothie. And I have, I feel like a little trick with the smoothie. But anyways, we're going to get the cookies started because I'm hoping they will be done by the time we are ready to leave today. So these are called... where the website I found them from or I adapted them from called them Good Morning Sunshine cookies. So that's what I call them. It starts with a banana, as ripe a banana as you can get, and I'm just going to mash it up. So there's a lot of things you can do with this recipe to sort of personalize it, make it yours. The banana is sort of that's one of the base ingredients. So we're stuck with that one. Oh, and so obviously everybody's muted, but I do have the chat open. So if you guys have any comments or questions as we're going along, please feel free to pop them in the chat. Okay, so just a little mash, not a big deal. So I'm actually making half a recipe. So in the full recipe, and I have the recipes queued up on my screen. So just somebody remind me at the end to share my screen and show them to you because I might forget. But I'm making a half recipe today. We're going away a lot this summer and I don't want them to go bad, and my freezer's a little full right now. So anyway, so the full recipe calls for 2 ripe bananas. We have our 1 banana. To this, we are going to add some old-fashioned oats. So full recipe, 2.5 cups of oats, half recipe, 1 1/4 cup of oats. And this is a super easy recipe, literally all just dump in the bowl and mix together. The hardest part was mashing the banana. All right, so there's our oats, put those away. Okay, here's where so those are old-fashioned oats. You are welcome to use quick oats. And so the oat allergy, I can't think of a sub for the oats. In terms of the gluten, you could get oats that are specifically labeled gluten-free. So you could use those. I know there are some brands out there. But in terms of the oat allergy, I can't think of what would be a good oat substitute right now. I will try to think of it. But like I said, in terms of gluten, there are oats that are labeled gluten-free, so that would be fine. We are all oat and gluten. Yeah. Sorry, I can't think of an oat. My other 2 recipes don't have oats, so that's a plus. But I'm trying to think. Yeah, let me give that some thought. I'm not sure. But this is one ingredient that you can swap out for allergies. So it calls for, full recipe calls for 1 cup of peanut butter. I'm using 1/2 cup. You can use any nut or seed butter, almond butter, cashew butter, sunflower seed butter, my personal fave of all the alternative peanut butters. So any of those would work. And we're, like I said, I'm using 1/2 cup here for the half recipe. All right. Give that a little swipe. We are good. All right. All right, that is our peanut butter or our nut butter, whatever you might be using. All right, next. So the next ingredient is a half a cup of nuts. I actually don't like nuts in my cookies, so I'm not putting them in. But you could use chopped pecans or walnuts. You could also do coconut as an option. I'm just leaving them out. Next ingredient after that is honey or maple syrup. You could use either one. I'm using honey today. So full recipe, it calls for 1/3 cup. We are going to be, for the half recipe, I am going to be using 2.5 tablespoons. And this just adds a little bit of sweetness. It's really, aside from what sugar may be in the peanut butter, it is the only added sugar in the entire recipe. All right. Next is a teaspoon of honey. For us, it's going to be a 1/2 teaspoon of honey. I'm sorry, vanilla. Clearly not honey, just did the honey. And we are going to use a 1/4 teaspoon of cinnamon. Full recipe calls for a 1/2 teaspoon. Sprinkle that in. A pinch of salt. Full recipe calls for 1/4 teaspoon. Wasn't even good. And finally, the blueberries. So don't like cinnamon, you could use nutmeg, you could use ginger, different ingredients there. Same with vanilla. You could swap up, especially if you maybe put coconut in it, you could use a coconut extract instead of the vanilla extract. Our last ingredient is going to be, it calls for a cup, so we're using a 1/2 cup of either fresh or frozen or dried blueberries or other fruit. So I'm doing the blueberries today. I happen to have some dried blueberries that I wanted to use up. There we go. So this is where you could swap out, you could use cranberries, cherries, sorry. I knew I didn't have enough dried, so we're just going to add a little bit of frozen to the mix. Again, the cherries would be delicious if you used maybe an almond extract and chopped or slivered almonds in here. We are just dumping those raisins. You could use craisins. Oh, craisins would be delicious if you used, say, an orange extract as the extract. So again, aside from the banana and, I'm sorry, the oats, almost every other recipe or ingredient in this recipe is swap outable. Oh, it's okay. All right, so you just mix it together, just like that, till it is all well combined. It's not a tricky, nothing hard to mix. You could use an electric mixer if you want, but why dirty that? And then I have the oven is preheated. That came together even faster than I thought it was going to. So the oven is preheated to 325. I have a cookie sheet with, you could use parchment or I'm using a silicone mat. And you basically, these are big cookies. These are meant to be like a little, meal, basically. Maybe, grab one of these with a glass of milk or something on the way out the door. So the recipe calls for making a 1/4 cup. This is only 1/3 cup. So I'm sort of making them a little bit overly stuffed. And you want to space them sort of far apart because they are large cookies. But we should get, I should be able to get 8 cookies out of here. Or 7 cookies. Oh, that one was a bit too large. So we're going to take some of this guy, move him over there. It's very sticky. Could you incorporate a protein powder in this? Certainly you could. I've never done that, so I'm not sure how, what quantity. Maybe I would start with maybe a half a cup. I'm thinking, well, okay, so actually in a full recipe, I might start with maybe 3/4 of a cup of protein powder, and see what that does to the texture. But yeah, that would be fine to give them a little bit. I mean, we do have the peanut butter, which is a great source of protein. But if you wanted to boost that even more. So I'm just sort of flattening these a little bit because they're not going to spread really on their own. I like to make them in little, nice shapes. This one has a lot of fruit, so we're going to take some of it out and put it in there because these other ones don't have as much of the blueberries. Flatten it out, flatten it out. And this is going to go in that preheated 325-degree oven. We're going to start at about, the recipe calls for 18 to 21 minutes. I'm going to start at about 15 minutes. I always do that when I bake because you can always add time, but you can't take away time. All right. Okay, so that was recipe 1, just like that. Super easy. So like I said, these can be stored at room temperature once they are cooked and cooled for about a week in like a airtight container. But honestly, what I like to do is I will freeze them. I'll let them cool, on a wire rack. I will get a cool cookie sheet and freeze them individually on a cookie sheet. Once they're frozen, I will then put them in a reusable container, Ziploc bag, whatever, Tupperware container, and freeze them once they're frozen. That way, when I just want one, I can just take one out and they're not all frozen as one big giant chunk. I do that almost anytime I freeze anything, berries, cookie dough, cookies, anything. I freeze them individually first, and then once they're frozen, I store them in the separate container, and that way they don't stick together. And then just so if you want one in the morning, you can just take it out of the freezer the night before and let it thaw on the counter. But you can also pop them in the microwave for 15 20 seconds, or take them out of the freezer when you get up in the morning and after you showered, maybe they could microwave for a few seconds just to take the frozenness chill off. All right, so next recipe I want to do is going to be our breakfast parfaits. So super easy. I used to do these for my kids all the time when they were little. And they would have so much fun picking the cereal, picking the fruit. But it's typically, and I don't have a recipe for this. It is literally just fruit, yogurt, and cereal. Today, it's vanilla yogurt. I thought I had bought Greek, but I didn't. But I prefer Greek yogurt. It just has more protein, more calcium, but whatever. It still has a good, healthy bacteria in here. Raspberries and some granola. So I got to say, this is a little trick that I don't know, probably saw it on Pinterest or somewhere. So this is your typical canning jar. And this is a lid from one of those shake Parmesan cheese containers. It fits the mason jar perfectly. And now you can just open it and shake, shake, shake. And it keeps the, I always find granola, those Ziploc pouches that it comes in, they never stay fresh, at least for me. So we're just going to make layers. So this is a super easy, it's not a great on-the-go breakfast. It's a little harder. The cookie you can take on the go, the smoothie you can take on the go. This is one you got to have a minute maybe to be able to sit and eat. But I literally just make layers. So I put a little bit, I'm so used to Greek yogurt. This not Greek yogurt is so thin. So we layer, again, whatever fruit you want. Today we're doing raspberries. Little granola. And we're done with the yogurt. Put a couple more raspberries on there. A little sprinkle. And voila, a nice fancy breakfast. This could be dessert too. I got these glasses at like almost like a Goodwill kind of place near us, this place called the Savers. No, it wasn't. It was at a thrift store near us. I love finding, cute little things that make mealtime more fun, make it a little fancier than the cereal bowl. And finally, we have so I call this a blueberry blast smoothie. You can call it anything because you could use any fruit, any yogurt. This is my basic smoothie recipe, and I am cutting it down. It makes 4. What did I do with that? There we go. The full recipe makes about 4 servings. I did not need 4 smoothies right now. So I am starting with, I have my little, mini blender, and I'm cutting the recipe down. So the full recipe calls for 2 cups of frozen fruit. Today it's blueberries. So we're going to have a half a cup of that. But again, this could be peaches. This could be a combination. Oops, got to take the lid off, don't I? My daughter loves to combine, so she'll do half peaches and half strawberries, or half peaches and half raspberries. So we just need a half a cup total of frozen fruit. And I use frozen fruit because I like my smoothies thicker, and I don't like adding ice because it dilutes the flavor. Yep, I will give the recipe at the end. I'll show both recipes, so thanks for the reminder. All right, I think this is zipped up. So we just need a half a cup of frozen fruit total, but it can be any different combination. Half a cup of, or again, if we're making the full 4 recipes, 2 cups of all the same fruit, quarter cup of 4 different fruits, a half a cup of 2 different fruits. So lots of options there. I am using plain yogurt. The full recipe would use this whole container. Today we are not using the whole container. We're using about a quarter of it. And I am using plain non-fat Greek yogurt. I am not a fan of plain Greek yogurt. I'm not a fan of plain yogurt at all, just to eat it as is, but I love it in smoothies because I'm adding all this other flavor and I don't really notice that tartness. So I'm just adding a little bit more yogurt. Full recipe is going to call for a medium banana. I like to freeze my bananas. When I have bananas that are starting to go brown, I immediately peel them, put them in a Ziploc bag in the freezer, and they're perfect for smoothies. They're perfect for baking, and that way I don't throw them out. So one of the tricks I was going to show when it comes to smoothies is, smoothies are pretty darn easy. I mean, we're literally dumping all this in here, but say you just don't even have that time in the morning. I like the idea of making smoothie bags. So what I do is I will take the yogurt and I will put it in little muffin cups. So this is the amount that would go in one smoothie. So I freeze these. This is a silicone muffin cup. And then once they're frozen, all I do is pop them out and say I want a week's worth of smoothies. So I line up, 5 either Ziploc bags or Tupperware containers. I put a frozen yogurt nugget, for lack of a better word, in each one. I put the frozen banana I want. I put whatever other fruit and flavorings I want in each bag. So I could make 5 different smoothies lined up that way. And now when I want one, all I have to do is dump it in my blender what did I do with it? There we go. The one ingredient that I would wait to add in the morning is a splash of milk. It just helps thin it out a little bit. Sorry, we've got some yogurt there. All right. And I would put this in the bag. I just haven't done it yet. Full recipe calls for 2 tablespoons of flax. So I'm going to use a half a tablespoon of flax. But I would certainly put my flax in the bag. And like I said, we'll use a splash of milk because with all that frozen fruit, it does get thick. But that's it. You can have all the ingredients except the milk in, like I said, a Tupperware bowl or a freezer bag. And in the morning, you just dump it in here and go. So I really love that. And then it's gonna be loud, turn your volume down. Give it a little shake. And that seems like I put in enough milk. We'll see once we, okay, it's very thick, not coming out. I'm gonna add a little bit more milk. But if you're making this a little bit early, you know, before you brush your teeth or whatever, and maybe you're not gonna drink it till you get to work, then maybe you want it a little thick at the beginning. And just for display, I'm going to pour this into a glass, but I love this little, whatever it is, it's a Ninja, because I have another lid that doesn't have the blade on it that I can just put on here, stick a straw in it or not, and be on the go. So this is our smoothie. If I had a spatula over here that didn't have peanut butter on it, I would, here, we'll use this spoon. I would go in and, you know, get all those last bits. But I love this smoothie. I love the color of it. I love the flavor. It's just such a pretty, that purple shade with all those blueberries. And like I said, it's got the flax in it. So the flax has some, it's great fiber. It's some omega-3 fatty acids. So we've got the heart health going. And that it, oh, we're waiting on our cookies. How much time? My timer went. Sometimes my timer goes back to the oven temperature. So we've got a couple minutes to see if those are done. I can't remember what time I put them in. Oh, I should peek at them and see how they look. They're getting there. But does anybody have any questions while we're waiting on the cookies? So we've got our breakfast parfait. We have got our smoothie. You know what? I will pull up those recipes right now so I don't forget that. So hold on. All right, hopefully, there we go. All right, so there are the two recipes. If you want to take a screenshot or write those down. Like I said, I can still see the chat. So if anybody has recipes, now's the perfect time to pop them in there. The smoothie recipe does call for, you know, just traditional milk, but you can use, if you drink soy milk or oat milk or almond milk, whatever kind of milk alternative that you use would be fine. What else? Oh, so I use plain yogurt. You could, to enhance the flavor of the smoothie, you could use the blueberry yogurt, the same as the fruit, or you could use yogurt that is a different flavor than the fruit you're using. So maybe you're going to make use frozen peaches and do raspberry yogurt. So lots of fun things you can do with that. But that is it. It doesn't look like anybody has any questions, but I would like to, I always try and save a few minutes at the end for questions. So those cookies smell delicious. I'm going to get my cooling rack out here to pop them on. Let me just make room for it. And I will just leave those two recipes showing for now. All right. Well, they're still a little bit sticky, but what I want to show you, I will pop them back in for a couple minutes. I just want to show you sort of what they look like. So they hold their shape. I would let these cool for 5 or 10 minutes on the cookie sheet and then put them on a rack to cool completely before I put them in any kind of storage container. But like I said, I'm going to add them back just because I know they need a couple more minutes to cook. And that's it. Like I said, do you guys have any questions? What do you think? Who's gonna try one of these? Hopefully somebody. I still have not thought of a sub for the oats, and that's killing me. Um, I wonder if any other grain would work. I'm trying to think of. Um, I just can't think. Like I'm wondering if barley, like if you could get the flattened barley, if that would work. Um, oh, good, good. I'm so excited you're going to try it. Oh, okay, hold on. Yeah, oh, puffed quinoa. That's a great idea. The coconut flakes, I think it would be very coconut heavy, but maybe a combination of something, some coconut flakes and, like you said, the puffed quinoa. That's a great idea, actually. Um, so that might work. Oops, there we go. Butter instead of peanut butter? No, not at all. That first of all, we would be adding a ton of saturated fat. You could use any kind of alternative nut butter or seed butter. Um, Adding 2 minutes there, but substituting just butter, like so I just added a half a cup. So replacing the peanut butter with butter, that's we're talking a whole stick of butter for just what I make 6 or 7 cookies, and it would just completely melt in the oven, and you would just have a sheet of oats in melted butter. You really need the peanut butter, but like I said, you could use cashew butter, you could use sunflower seed butter, almond butter, so many alternatives. So so this little handy dandy gadget, which I use all the time, I think I got it at the former Bed Bath & Beyond, but I think they sell it at Target as well. I think Pampered Chef sells them. It is OXO brand, so it is awesome because and it'll do liquids too. There's just a different line for liquids. You just pull it down to however much you need, fill it, and then scrape it off. So it's great for peanut butter. I've used it for honey and like molasses, things that you don't really want to shove in a cup and have to scoop all out. But yeah, that is probably one of the easiest tools in my kitchen that I use the most frequently. But yeah, that's it. You are very welcome. So I hope everybody has a great rest of their day. I don't know where all you are located, where you guys are located, but where I am, it's like 95 degrees today. So I'm happy to be in the house right now. But I do have to go out and do some yard work, so wish me luck. And have a great rest of your Wednesday and a great rest of your week. Thank you very much. You are all very welcome.